April 15th, 2023. Germany shuts down its last 3 nuclear power plants. Clean, reliable, carbon-free, gone. The same week, the exact same week, Germany fires up a new coal plant. Dirty, expensive, carbon-heavy. Let that sink in. The country that lectures the world about climate change just replaced nuclear power with coal, and they called it progress. Here's what nobody's talking about. Germany didn't just make a bad energy decision, they committed industrial suicide, and they did it 5 times, each time with applause. Here's what they never tell you about the fall of industrial giants. They don't collapse, they deindustrialize, factory by factory, job by job, quarter by quarter, until one day you look up and realize the thing that made you rich is gone, and you can't remember exactly when it left. Meet Klaus, 52 years old, a chemical engineer, 30 years at BASF in Ludwigshafen, the largest chemical plant in the world. He didn't lose his job because he was bad at it. He was exceptional. He lost it because of 5 decisions made by politicians who had never set foot inside a factory. Between 2011 and 2024, Germany made 5 energy choices. Each one sounded moral. Each one won standing ovations at climate conferences. Combined, they did what 2 world wars couldn't do. They broke German industry. And Klaus is what that looks like up close. March 11th, 2011. An earthquake hits Japan. A tsunami follows. Fukushima melts down, 9,000 kilometers away. In Berlin, Chancellor Angela Merkel watches the news. She is a physicist. She understands nuclear energy better than almost any world leader alive. And within days, she makes a decision that will haunt Germany for decades. We're shutting down nuclear power, all of it. 17 reactors. 25% of Germany's electricity, clean, stable, running perfectly for 40 years, gone. Because Fukushima was on a fault line in a tsunami zone on the Pacific coast of Japan. Germany has no tsunamis, no fault lines, no Pacific coast. Didn't matter. The optics were bad. The public was scared. The Green Party was loud. So a physicist chose fear over physics. Klaus felt this immediately. BASF runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It needs baseload power, electricity that's always on, not just when conditions are favorable. Nuclear provided that. What replaces it? He asked his supervisor. The answer came from Berlin, solar and wind. Klaus knew what that meant. Solar works 6 hours a day. Wind works when it's windy. A chemical plant cannot run on weather. Decision number 1 wasn't about safety. It was about feelings. You cannot build an industrial economy on feelings. Physics doesn't care how you feel. But, okay, maybe feelings aren't enough to kill an economy. Maybe Germany had a backup plan. They did, and it was worse. Germany approves Nord Stream 2, a direct pipeline from Russian gas fields to German factories. Cheap, abundant, reliable. Angela Merkel's cabinet celebrates. German industry exhales. American officials warn, you're making yourselves dependent on Putin. German officials laugh. Putin is a business partner. Gas is gas. Economics transcends politics. For 7 years, the gas flowed. Klaus's plant hummed. Costs stayed low. Everything worked. They built their entire industrial model on one assumption. Russia will always sell. February 24th, 2022. Russia invades Ukraine. Within months, Nord Stream is sabotaged. The gas stops. Overnight, Klaus's plant is paying 10 times more for energy than it did 2 years earlier. 10 times. He runs the numbers himself, at his desk, alone. They don't work. They cannot work. Not at 10 times the energy cost. BASF announces within months, production is moving. China, United States, anywhere the lights are cheaper. Klaus gets a meeting with HR, a severance package, a handshake, 30 years of expertise, gone in 45 minutes, not because he failed, because Germany built a billion-euro industry on hoping an adversary would stay friendly. Decision number 2 wasn't about energy. It was about wishful thinking. And wishful thinking has a bill. It just arrives late. Nuclear gone. Gas gone. Surely Germany has a third option. They do. It's the one they promised to eliminate. 2019. Germany announces a full coal phase-out by 2038. We're going green, climate activists cheer. International headlines celebrate. One quiet problem. No replacement exists. Wind and solar can't fill baseload. Nuclear is already shut down. Russian gas is flowing but fragile. So what's the plan? We'll figure it out. That was the plan. When Russia cut the gas in 2022, Germany panicked and did the only thing it could. Restarted coal plants. The exact coal plants they promised the world they would close. Germany today burns more coal than it did in 2015. More, not less. Carbon emissions, rising. Electricity prices, highest in Europe. Their moral high ground, gone. The The same week, they fired up the coal plant while shutting down the nuclear one. Germany spent $500 billion on renewable energy over 20 years. $500 billion. And they're more dependent on coal than when they started. It's like spending $500 billion on a diet and gaining weight. Decision number 3 wasn't about the environment. It was about optics. They wanted to look green. They didn't care if they actually were green. And the difference between looking and being, that's where your industry dies. 3 decisions, 3 failures. But here's where it stops being Germany's problem and starts being yours. BASF, Volkswagen, Siemens, ThyssenKrupp. One by one, Germany's industrial giants announced the same thing. We're leaving. Not restructuring, not downsizing. Leaving. The reason is one number. Industrial electricity in Germany, 30 cents per kilowatt hour. In the United States, 7 cents. In China, €0 and 5 cents. Germany is 6 times more expensive than China. You cannot compete at 6 times the cost. It doesn't matter how good your engineers are. It doesn't matter how proud your history is. Physics wins. Japan learned this in a different way. In the 1980s, Japan was the industrial superpower. Electronics, steel, automobiles, they dominated everything. Then came the decisions. Overvalued currency, inflated land prices, costs that no longer made sense. Companies started moving production to Korea, then Taiwan, then China. Slowly, quietly. By 2005, Japanese manufacturing had hollowed out. They called it a structural adjustment. It was deindustrialization. It took 20 years and they never fully recovered. Germany is running the same program, just faster. Klaus's hardware store job pays 60% of what he made at BASF. Or his pension lost 40% of its value when BASF stock collapsed. He works 6 days a week now. He's not angry. He's tired. I did everything right, he told his daughter last Christmas. The country did everything wrong. Decision number 4 wasn't a decision. It was a consequence. When you make energy expensive, you make everything expensive. And when everything is expensive, nobody builds there anymore. 4 decisions, 4 consequences. But the fifth is the one that makes all the others permanent. 2024. Every indicator is screaming. GDP shrinking. Factories relocating. Electricity prices soaring. Emissions rising. A rational government pauses, reassesses, admits the mistake. Germany doubles down. More wind farms, more solar subsidies, more renewable spending. 0 discussion of nuclear. Because nuclear is now politically impossible. This is the most dangerous moment in any policy failure. The sunk cost trap. We've already spent $500 billion. We cannot admit it was wrong, so we spend $500 billion more. But here's why 2024 is different from 2011, 2015, 2019. Those mistakes could have been reversed. This one cannot. The nuclear engineers are retired. The plants are demolished. Rebuilding takes 15 years minimum, and a generation of expertise that no longer exists. The factories are gone. Once BASF builds a $10 billion plant in Zhejiang, it doesn't come back because Berlin changes its mind. The political system is locked. The Green Party is in the governing coalition. Admitting green energy failed doesn't just change policy. It collapses the government. So they don't admit it. They keep spending, keep pretending, keep subsidizing, while the GDP shrinks. And Klaus works at a hardware store. Decision number 5 wasn't about energy anymore. It wasn't even about politics. Pride isn't a fuel. It's an accelerant. And Germany just poured it on the fire. 5 decisions, 1 collapse. But here's the part that should make you put down your phone. Germany isn't the story. Germany is the warning. Your country is probably following the same plan. Not because your politicians are stupid, because the plan sounds beautiful. 100% renewable by 2035. Applause, awards, international headlines. Ask one question: what happens when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine? If the answer involves "we'll figure it out," you're looking at the next Germany. And you're looking at the next Klaus. Your electricity bill has doubled in 5 years. That's not inflation. That's not Russia. That's not bad luck. That's what happens when you build an energy policy on feelings instead of physics. Watch the bills. Then watch who leaves. The factories don't announce it loudly. They just quietly build the next plant somewhere else. And one morning, your city has a little less work than it did before. And nobody can point to exactly when it changed. That's not how collapse looks in the movies. That's how it actually works. Here's what the data actually shows. Every wealthy country on Earth has one thing in common: cheap, reliable, abundant energy. Every declining industrial economy has one thing in common: expensive, unreliable, politicized energy. No exceptions. Not one. This isn't ideology, it's thermodynamics. The countries that will win the next 50 years are building nuclear plants, not closing them. Securing energy independence, not outsourcing it. Choosing reliability over optics. 3 things worth doing now. 1, understand your own country's energy mix, not the headlines, the actual numbers. Baseload versus intermittent, where it comes from, what it costs. 2, build skills and income that don't depend on one country's industrial health. What Klaus had was extraordinary. What he lacked was mobility. 3, watch the electricity price, not the headline rate, the industrial rate. When it rises faster than your neighbors, that's the canary. That's the signal Germany missed, over and over again, for 13 years. 5 decisions. Fear, dependency, contradiction, exodus, pride. Each one made with good intentions, each one applauded, each one wrong. Germany didn't fail at green energy. Germany succeeded at something much harder to admit, proving that you can destroy a century of industrial wealth in 13 years, if you choose the feeling of progress over the reality of it. Klaus turned off the lights at the hardware store last Tuesday. He didn't notice the irony, but I did. Germany thought it was choosing the future. It chose the feeling of the future, and there's a difference. One keeps the lights on, the other just makes for better speeches. The lights don't lie. Physics never does.